See, see, Rob suggested I just bring it up in my city manager report and say that I'm going to work with this guy. Doesn't pass the smell test, but I'm going to meet with him and yeah. All right. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. All right. All right.
Hey, Richard, Janet.
Document.
Oh, okay. I'll talk to that later. Thank you, Jen. Mr. Bethel. I've got to start.
Basketball. Volleyball game going at 7 o'clock.
But thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
I mean, you're doing it better than most.
And Mr. Friend is not going to be here again tonight, right?
I think he's attending from what Ian says by phone.
Oh, okay. So we'll do
So
that.
we'll definitely need a vote tonight.
I got it. Put this thing so it's not sticking up my nose.
Oh, I see what he's got. He's got a mic right there.
Okay. See if everybody's here. Don't have a gavel. Interesting. Possibly. There it is. All hidden away. Stuck in the drawer. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order now the Monday, October 26, 2015 Lynn Haven City Commission meeting. And this is our first time to have our meeting at the new time. If you remember, we decided that we would have one meeting at 4 o'clock, which would be the second Tuesday of each month, and that we would begin the fourth Tuesday meeting at 6 p.m. to give some variance in time and allow more people to attend. So thank you for coming out tonight. And at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Leon Miller if he would lead us in the invocation. Thank you.
Our Father, our God, again we come to say thanks for the many blessings that you have stored upon us, O Heavenly Father. O Heavenly Father, we ask you to continue to look upon the commissioner here in Lynn Haven, O Heavenly Father. Give them the strength and the guidance to make the decision that was going to better Lynn Haven and the citizens of Lynn Haven. O Heavenly Father, we ask you to look upon the citizens. Keep giving them love and guiding them in the way that you see fit, O Heavenly Father. O Heavenly Father, again, we want to say just thanks for a fine government in the city of Lynn Haven. In thy name, for Christ's sake, ever. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. If you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3 is the mayor's report, and I would like tonight to call attention to the near completion of the improvements to the seawall in Porter Park, and how pleased that I personally am with how beautiful it looks, and what a great job that the H.G. Harder's company has done in that work. But I also wanted to recognize one of our citizens here in Lynn Haven, who's also a contractor, who's presently working on the 17th Street ditch, Mr. James Finch. And he also has lived in Lynn Haven for many, many years, and loves the city and frequently does philanthropic things for the city. And the beautiful white sand beach that you see at the park was donated by Mr. Finch. So I wanted to call attention to that, and I think we're all going to enjoy it for a long time. So thank you. The other part of my report is I wanted to thank the rest of the commission for yesterday's workshop, because we all have different opinions about the issue which was discussed at the workshop, the upcoming vote and on the golf cart issue in Lynn Haven. We had a lively and very productive discussion last night, and what we decided upon is that we would take the present ordinance and we would write it in a draft form and then have that at the November meeting on the agenda and go over it item by item and discuss it and bring it to a vote. So that would be the first meeting in November that we will be talking about that. And the proposal is simply that on the 25-mile-per-hour speed limits, streets with those speed limits within the residential sections of Lynn Haven, that all the sections would be allowed to do that. So we will be discussing that more, and we thank you for everyone who came out last night. And that's really the end of my report. And before I move to the Commissioner's report, I would at this time like to ask for a motion from the Commission to allow our fellow Commissioner, Mr. Rodney Friend, to participate in the meeting this evening by telephone. Thank you.
Also move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or objection from the board? Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook? Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so approved. And so, Mr. Friend, are you able to hear us on the phone okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Anytime you need to break in, let us know. At this time, while you're on the phone, would you like to report on anything from the last time?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. Just to say that, yeah, I am traveling on behalf of the TPO to the MPOAC in Orlando, and I'll share at the next commission meeting what we've discussed down there. But you can always look it up on the website, MPOAC, and or the West Florida Regional Planning website to find out more information. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, and also I wanted to remind everyone that this coming Wednesday, all day, that will be tomorrow, there is a TPO meeting at the Bay County Government Building for those who would be interested in attending that. Commissioner Shad, do you have a report?
This past week, we had a luncheon in recognition of the employees. It was held out at the Sheffield Park, and it was very well attended, and it was a beautiful day, thank goodness, and everybody thoroughly enjoyed themselves. We will be periodically doing this, as I understand it, so that we can show our employees our continued support and appreciation for everything that they do and have done. We continue to operate with less people than most cities, and it's because we have good employees, and I guess our feeling is if you treat your employees right, they're going to work hard for you and make you look good.
Well, I certainly agree with you, and thank you, and I regret that I was unable to attend. I was out of town, but look forward to attending the next one. Commissioner Ashbrook?
I don't have any other report other than what the other two commissioners have mentioned.
Okay, and Commissioner Barnes?
I, too, attended the employee picnic, and it was well attended. And I just want to say our employees work extremely hard throughout this city. You know, sometimes it looks as though they're not doing anything, but you can be rest assured that Mr. Schubert and all the department heads are making sure that things are being taken care of within this city. And if it wasn't, it wouldn't continue to grow as it does grow. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do, employees, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. And speaking of employees, I also wanted to back up just for a moment. Harry Reid, not the one in Congress, but our local Harry Reid, who is actually a retired New York police officer, and you might see him out at the American Legion sometimes, he sent an email to me commending two of our Lynn Haven police officers. On October 23rd, he regrettably doesn't have their names, but his daughter and son-in-law were visiting from out of town, and they broke down on the bridge as they were coming into town, and he commended two of our officers for staying with them and helping them with safety issues until they could get that resolved, and they wanted me to bring that to the community's attention. So I wanted to commend the police department for that. At this time, the city manager's report, item 5.
Thank you, Mayor. And on behalf of the staff, I'd like to thank the mayor and the commission for their compliments of the staff. I also had another email from a 19-year citizen whose daughter was held at gunpoint, I guess, at one of our local establishments at 77, and she was just really complimentary of the way the PD handled that whole situation. So I was going to mention that as well. The only other item I wanted to mention was we have a citizen that may or may not be here that I've talked to over the last probably week about his water bill, and what it boils down to is he just moved in, it's a new residence, and the first 2 months there was a $50, which seemed very reasonable for the size of the residence bill, and the third month there was a $250 bill, and then we checked the meter several times, and in the interim between the last $250 bill and this month, a month has passed, there was another $50 bill. And I just wanted to mention to the Commission that I propose that I work with this citizen because it just doesn't pass the smell test, and I'm going to invite him to come speak with me tomorrow, and I just wanted you to be aware of that. We do not currently have a policy that handles individual accounts, but I think we can just apply common sense and some good judgment and work this out with the citizens. So I wanted to mention that, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Number 6 on the agenda, the City Attorney's Report.
No report, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Item number 7 is a public hearing, and I would like to open that at this time. It is 6:10. The public hearing is now opened. This is regarding the Small Scale Plan Amendment, SSA 15-4, James Finch and Associates, 1408 Georgia Avenue, Industrial to Commercial, and would like to call on staff for information, please. Thank you.
I'm just waiting for my presentation.
Sure. Waiting for the screen. There we are.
Thank you. This is a small-scale land use change request from industrial to commercial. The applicant is James Finch and Associates. The applicant's agent is Jeffrey Peterman, who is with Panhandle Engineering. The location of the property is 1408 Georgia Avenue, and the size of the property is 0.3 acres. The current land use on this property is industrial. If you will remember, a few months ago we brought some houses that were located on the same street to you because they had an industrial land use even though they were residential. This is another instance of where the current use is non-conforming with the land use, and it's not the applicant's fault that this happened. It's because of changes basically in the state law, whereas in the past, if you had a use such as industrial or commercial, then you could allow lower intensity uses upon that land use. Now, that's not the situation. Now, if it's industrial, it's supposed to have industrial on. If it's commercial, it's supposed to have commercial. So, in effect, what this applicant is requesting, a land use of commercial, is going to correct that non-conforming use situation, because there is actually currently a restaurant located on this property. The restaurant is known as the Blue Moon. This is the location here on Georgia Avenue, and this is an aerial shot of the parcel.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I responded late there. The only question I really have...
Would you state your name and address, please?
Nancy Singleton, 402 Wisconsin.
Thank you.
The only question I would have on it is, has it ever been used for industrial, or has it just been zoned that way? And if it was used for industrial, what possible toxins would be involved?
I'm not aware that it's ever been used as industrial. I'm not sure when the industrial land use was requested. I'm thinking it was a long time ago.
Okay.
So I'm not aware that there's ever been any industrial on there.
May have had something to do with the proximity of the railroad when
That's
it
what
was
I
working.
think.
And isn't this right up the road from where we had those changes for the residential
It
homes?
is, it is. And where the kind of log cabin, little kind of stores and offices are further north, that's also industrial. So I can see in the future them coming and changing that as well to make that conforming.
Okay, any other questions or comment from the public? Okay, 6:14 and the public hearing is closed. Item number 8 is another public hearing. It is now 6:14 and this public hearing is open. This is the Small Scale Plan Amendment SSA 15-5, James Finch and Associates, 1411 Alabama Avenue, mixed use to commercial. Is there a report from staff?
Yes. This is another small-scale land use change from the same applicant, James Finch and Associates. The request this time is for mixed use to commercial. The agent is Jeffrey Peterman. The location is 1411 Alabama, and the size of the property is just over half an acre. As I said, the current land use is mixed use, and the request is to change the land use to commercial in order to construct a parking lot to serve the adjacent parcels. And the adjacent parcels are the parcels the parcels to the east, which are the ones that we just spoke about with the restaurant on. Currently there are a lot of, I believe, parking issues on that road. And if the applicant is able to get a mixed use land use on here, a commercial land use, then he will be able to construct a parking lot on this property to serve the Blue Moon restaurant and take that parking off the streets.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Thank you. This public hearing is closed at 6:15. Item number 9, public hearing, I'm opening at, again, 6:15. Sorry.
This is...
I have to read it first, sorry. No problem. Small Scale Plan Amendment SSA-15-6, James Finch and Associates, parcel number 10213-0250000, contiguous to 1408 Georgia Avenue on the south. And now report from staff. Thank you.
This is the third small-scale land use change from the same applicant. Agent is the same, Jeffrey Peterman. This time there's a parcel number. The parcel is 10213-025-000 Georgia Avenue, and the size is 0.086 acres. The current land use is industrial. So this is just a little slip of a parcel, which is outlined in red here. It's to the south of the Blue Moon parcel. And the applicant is requesting a land use from industrial, which that one is as well, to commercial, therefore bringing it into conformity, and I believe that he would like to use it as egress, either ingress or egress from the parking lot, from Georgia Avenue to the new parking lot when the parking lot is constructed. And this is the aerial shot. You can see it's just that small portion there.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Yes, sir.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. In your package, you will see a portion of it dealing with the Planning Commission. We spend a lot of time, effort by some individuals that spend a little bit more time discussing these things. I'd like to know why their input is not put into this. What do they say? Did they approve or disapprove of this? That's the Planning Commission when they meet. Could we possibly get their input as to did they approve or not approve? Thank you.
I'll defer to staff. My understanding was that they did, but...
They did. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Sorry, but what you all don't know is that when the Commission get their meeting packets, they also get copies of the Planning Board meeting minutes. Yes, so they get copies of the minutes so that when they're reviewing, then they obviously know. So yeah, I'll be happy to let you all know what the Planning Commission said. Okay, so the Planning Commission did approve all three of these small scales.
And as you said, Amanda, it's on the notes of the Planning Commission on every applicable Commission agenda report, and also I'd point out Roman numeral 2, concurrences, Planning Commission recommended approval. So, I mean, we are included that as part of that package.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions from the board? Excuse me, from the public? Thank you. Okay, at this time it's 6:18 and the public hearing is closed. Number 10 is the additional public hearing. The time is 6:19. Public hearing is now open. The amendment to the comprehensive plan, proportionate fair share transportation mitigation. Report from staff to explain. Thank you.
This is an ordinance which would be removed.
Pardon me just a moment. This is Amanda Richard, our city planner. I've referred to her as staff the last 5 times. Thank you very much. I apologize.
Thank you. This is an ordinance which would remove some language that we currently have in our comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is a state-required document, and prior to June the 2nd, 2011, we had to, not just us, but all municipalities and counties in Florida had to have transportation concurrency in the comp plan. We had to have proportionate fair share. Which is it's quite a complicated thing, but basically it was a way of collecting money from developers who were putting traffic on failing segments of roads that were failing their level of service. From June 2nd, 2011, we no longer have to have proportionate fair share in our comprehensive plan. We can take it out if we want to and have alternative methods that we want, that are city controlled and not state mandated. If we do that, then it's wise to adopt something else, either a mobility plan or an impact fee. We used to have an impact fee, but it was very high, maybe a reduced impact fee. The consequences of not doing this are that currently, and I know that some people find this hard to believe, but when we had the economic boom, there was an awful lot of traffic out there on the roads. When the economy hit the downturn, the amount of traffic, the volume of traffic actually went down. It's been going back up again. Every time we have a developer wanting to put a development on a property, I have to look to see whether that road, if it's in the concurrency management system, is failing or not. If it were failing, if we have the prop share language in the comp plan, we have to apply a formula that was state regulated to get money from the developer, and it's very high. And so what would likely happen would be the developer would say, bye then, I'm going somewhere else, and we wouldn't get the economic development. So far, none of the developments that we've had, or the developers that we've had, even with the ACE Home and Garden Development Order, none of them made the roads fail. However, we're getting very, very close on 77, and I have to go by the DOT traffic volume tables that they produce. So we're getting really close, which is why I think it's timely to bring it all to you, to bring this to you now, so that you can make the decision. Do you want to keep that language in there, whereby very shortly you're going to have a developer who we're going to have to charge that to, or would you like to pull it out and look at doing something else for the city that could actually help not just certain segments of road, but maybe intersection improvements further up that road that would help flow, etc. And if we collected money ourselves, we could use it anywhere in the city. If we stay with a proportionate fair share, you can only collect it for the failing segment. It goes into a pot until you have enough, thousands and thousands, to actually make the improvement. So it's actually really not helping the road. The money's just going to go into the pot for a number of years.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board or concerns? Are there questions from the public? Yes, sir.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Yesterday and at the Planning Commission, we discussed this. And yesterday we also had at the meeting, the workshop, TPO. And they kind of disagreed with the theory that was just espoused. It seems that the staff of Lynn Haven believes that the traffic on 77 is dropping. TPO refuted that yesterday. Mr. Shad even mentioned the fact of it yesterday, that 77 is going to be very, very busy pretty soon, and there's no consideration given for enlarging 77. In fact, everything is going to come through 77. Anyway, back to this. This was put in conjunction with another ordinance, 2 of them together, which is really highly unusual. According to Florida statutes, this ordinance change should be a large-scale amendment and go through the scheme of things with dealing with the state of Florida. It is not. It's being considered a small-scale amendment and in conjunction with another small-scale amendment. Both of them should be treated separately and voted on accordingly. In a nutshell, this is 6 pages of a very extensive memorandum agreement that was done with Tallahassee, the citizens, the commissioners, and a lot of work went into putting this in there. It was mandated by the state. It was mandated for the following reason, using 77 for an example. There's no way of charging people for improvements to 77 20 years down the pike if a company builds a business on 77 and increases the traffic and increases the service level, FS. They put this in there so that they could put money aside for the future to do this. What we're doing here is we're going to eliminate that now. We're going to take that out. So, 20 years from now, when they finally decide to enlarge 77, they won't have any money for it. DCA was very important in this, and DCA also said, you do not have to remove this. DCA was the one that imposed that you put it in there. 2 amendments in one, and I'll address the second one later. You don't have to remove it. And the implications are in the future, you probably won't have any money to do 77 on a state level. Not here.
Thank you. Any comments from staff or board? Any other? Okay, Ms. Richard. Attorney, anybody?
I think Ms. Richards stated that the traffic is on the uptick, while it went down during our little Great Recession there. But other than that, I believe there are ways, and we spoke about them yesterday, I believe to a limited extent, to collect a transportation impact fee that behoove the city, where we have more control over them, and as Ms. Richard also said, that we could apply those funds to the areas of the city that are most necessary. So, I mean, I believe, as she stated, that's the whole reason for this, is to implement a better and more fair plan, not to mention that we've had several conversations, the mayor's mentioned them, other commissioners have mentioned, of collecting maybe a sales tax that would also address the roads, that puts the burden on folks besides the citizens of Lynn Haven that use these roads just as much. Do you have anything to add?
Mayor, I can address, I guess, Mr. Walker's concerns about the amendment, the technical requirements of the amendment. I mean, Mr. Walker's correct in that normally a text amendment to the comp plan requires a large-scale process that goes through state review. However, in this particular case, the state has exempted removing concurrency and proportionate fair share specifically by statute, and they have an abbreviated, expedited process. I've reviewed it with Amanda, and we're comfortable with the process that was followed. When Mr. Walker attended the Planning Commission meeting, there actually were 2 amendments put on one ordinance, but we separated those for the commission, and those are separate now. So I'm comfortable with the process, and if you all have any questions on the technical side.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. It's 6:27, and that public hearing is ended. At this time, I would like to move to item number 11 and open the public hearing again at 6:27. This is the amendment to the Unified Land Development Code, Section 2.02.06, Section 4.02.01, Section 4.02.02, and Section 4.06.03. Ms. Richard, thank you.
This is an ordinance which is not amending the comprehensive plan, but would amend the Unified Land Development Code. This is really not my area. This was something that Ben Janke, who is the CRA person for the city, he brought to me so that we could change the code, because I believe that it was something that had been discussed at one of the boards. I think the Main Street board, yes, before it was dismantled, and these were things that the board members said that they would like to see for a certain portion of Florida Avenue. Florida Avenue is in the older part of the city, and it's very difficult to apply the strict code requirements of things like buffering and parking on those small lots. And because of that, it's difficult to get redevelopment on those small lots. So we have some vacant old lots that, you know, could really look a lot better if we could get some businesses to move in there. So the purpose of this, I think, was to allow or make it easier for attractive businesses to move into Florida Avenue. So this would create the Florida Avenue Corridor Overlay. It's not for the whole of Florida Avenue, it's just for those parcels with frontage on Florida Avenue south of 5th Street and north of 12th Street. So this is just a little map that he gave me. You can see 5th Street up there to the north, and then 12th Street. So basically it's just those properties that have frontage along the street there, and it's just going to allow them to not have to put in the amount of buffering that would normally be required in the code, or parking. And also I think that contiguous parcels are allowed to kind of group together to deal with things like stormwater.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? I remember one of the examples that they gave that made it perfectly clear to me as a layman about this type of thing. If you have been on Florida Avenue and seen the Little Victoria's restaurant and then the new Saltwater Marsh, right next to it is basically an apartment building, a Victorian style, and it sits back from the road a bit, and it has a beautiful little green lawn and a picket fence. And under this type of ordinance, it would allow that kind of thing to happen, so that all of these little individual boutiques and they can have their own character and beauty without having to conform. And so I thought it was a really good thing as I was listening. Anybody else have questions or concern? Okay, at this time it is 6:30. I'm sorry. Yes, I thought I said anybody else. I'm sorry. Okay. Did you have something to say? Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed that.
No problem.
This is the second part of what was the ordinance 1010. This is a proposal. Most ordinance changes dealing with the code and land use and everything are proposed by an applicant. In this case, the applicant was Main Street Incorporated. Main Street Incorporated is no longer there. So, we don't have an applicant. It should fall to CRA. CRA has not voted on this, has not approved it, and has not presented it. Therefore, take a close look at this. You take a look at that map. This is putting another overlay over CRA over another overlay. CRA already has its groups and rules and regulations. They're pretty good. This one here is going to stop the front of these buildings or allow them to come right up and be right close together. No buffer areas, no frontal, no right next to each other. I wonder if the fire department has any problem with this. In the San Francisco fire, the reason that city was destroyed was because of the fact that the houses were like that. Most of the buildings that are on Florida Avenue right up there are right up to the street. In fact, the city was going to take one of the buildings to court because the overhang was on their property. So the buildings were right up there. So I don't see any necessary thing for this. The excuse was given us that the developers, there are no developers. They would be the people that are petitioned. The developers could not build right up to the sidewalks, to the sides, and everything like that. Ever since Main Street Incorporated went into that Florida Avenue, the prices of the lots have been the prohibitive factor of building there. Prices used to be $20,000, $25,000 per lot. They're now up to $400,000. And the people are not selling them, and the people are not buying them. So what I'm looking at here on this ordinance here is another overlay over an overlay that is not approved by CRA, which are the people that should approve this, and then present it. It's done by people that were in Main Street that had a different agenda than what the CRA is about. I would take a strong look at this and say that this should go back to the CRA for presentation, and then go through the normal route. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would also just like to make a comment that I would respectfully disagree that the Main Street Board is now no longer in existence. They are an advisory board to the CRA. They are the same board, essentially, the men who volunteer their time. And this was something, and please correct me if anyone thinks that I've misspoken, but my understanding was that they were going to, this was one of their last acts to redo this in the hopes that we would attract more small businesses like the Saltwater Marsh and like the Little Grits and, you know, up on Ohio. And certainly any building that comes in that there's any kind of fire problems or we have any questions, they would, you know, be subject to board approval on a one-by-one basis, I would hope. But the thing about this is that it sort of opens the door. It would be very disquieting to know that some boutique restaurant or something lovely that wanted to come to Lynn Haven would look at ordinances that are in place that would be prohibitive to keep them from even considering coming here. So that's just the mayor's opinion, so you certainly don't have to agree with it. But I've looked at it closely, and I think that it's definitely something that would help us to move forward with our vision for CRA, the vibrant walking community with tiny little businesses and boutiques that we can all enjoy, and also foster the Garden Club, the Heritage Society, and the others who are here. So if I'm missing something, I apologize in advance, but I don't see anything that looks precarious in this document. So that's just my opinion. Anybody else have a comment? Board? At this time, it's 6:35. And the public hearing is closed. Item number 12 is the final public hearing tonight. It's now 6:35, and this public hearing is open. This is the amendment to the Unified Land Development Code, Section 6.01.06. Ms. Richard, thank you.
I actually don't have a presentation for this. I was
Okay.
trying to remember I'd put something up there, but basically what this one is, if we're taking the prop share language out of the comprehensive plan, so if you all decide to remove the prop share language from the comprehensive plan, then we will also have to take it out of the land development code, the regulations. So what this ordinance would do, if you approved to remove it from the comp plan, this ordinance would be the ordinance that then removed it from the Unified Land Development Code.
Are there any questions or comments from the board on this ordinance? Excuse me, on this development code? Any questions from the public or comments? And there are none. It is 6:36, and this public hearing is closed. Moving on to the consent agenda, I will be going through these as a group, and then we'll ask for comments or concerns on any of these items as a group. In the consent agenda, you can certainly go back and pull any one of those, but just for expediency's sake. So the consent agenda includes item number 13, minutes for the 10/12/15 regular meeting. Item number 14, a move to cancel the 11/24 and 12/22 commission meetings. Those would be because of the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. Item number 15, minor subdivision MS-15-2, Jeremy Milirons, Virginia Avenue and 4th Street. Item number 16, approving the purchase of a bush axe mower from Alamo Industrial in the amount of $127,732. This is included in this year's budget. This is not something new added to the budget. Item number 17, approving the purchase of a garbage truck from National Auto Fleet Group in the amount of $245,714. This also was included in this year's budget. It is not a new line item. At this time, is there a motion to approve all items in the consent agenda?
Also move.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or any questions from the board on any items from 13 through 17? Are there any questions or discussion from the public on any of these items? Yes, sir.
Bob Schultz, 509 Pennsylvania Avenue. Item number 14, cancel 11/24 and 12/22 commission meetings because of the holidays. Okay, I don't think you guys realize the 24th is on Tuesday. The 26th of November is Thanksgiving. And December 25th, that's 3 days from the 22nd. I don't understand why you're canceling the commission meetings. You are public employees. Are you planning to give all the city employees the day off also?
I'll have to defer to the city manager.
No, traditionally this is what we've done, unless there are an abundance of items, which is possible for November. We have limited it to one commission meeting. It has nothing to do with the city hours. Traditionally, November and December have been relatively slow compared to the other 10 months of the year. If we have an abundance of items, I would petition the commission at first meeting in November to have a second meeting, or we could have it earlier. Those are all options.
You said it's been traditional, but at the same time, you still could hold the meetings and still have your holidays 2 or 3 days later as scheduled. I mean, you're costing the taxpayers of Lynn Haven money.
I don't understand that. If you're only having one meeting and you could condense both meetings into one meeting for a month, it seems like you're saving money.
Doesn't the city charter call for 2 meetings a month?
One minimum a month.
1 meeting a month? The city charter calls for 1 meeting a month?
One.
You're sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. I'll verify it. But
You're the city attorney? 1 meeting a month?
this is something that we've done since I've been city attorney for 15 years.
It's traditional, but you're saying the charter calls for 1 scheduled meeting, like tonight, a month. That's what you're saying?
I can verify that.
Maybe we should do that before we
The charter
go.
says that the city commission...
Sounds like you guys don't know what you're doing.
Mr. Schultz, if I could make one other comment, thank you for your comments, about the 1124 and 1122. I certainly have no objection to meeting, but I would also put forward that both of those weeks are school holidays locally and all across the country, and many on the board have families and grandchildren and might be traveling, and that's just a thought. Certainly, if there were urgent city business, as Mr. Schubert has put forward, those meetings could be reinstated by a simple vote or just by contacting the commission and then putting that out to the public. If there is any further objection, if everybody feels that we need the 2 meetings, if you would please put forward your thoughts about that through email and phone calls to your commissioners and to myself. You can post it on Facebook, however you'd like it. And if we were to get, a large amount of people who prefer to have both meetings, I'm sure that everybody would probably concur to do that. But that's, if that was, if there's only one objection, not that your objection is not important, Mr. Schultz, but it would need to be a large number, and we'd have to have a large agenda to go forward. So, but thank you for bringing that to our attention and that you do have that concern. Is there anyone else that has a comment on any of these items? Yes, sir.
Purchase of our, John Connor, 1407 Mississippi Avenue.
Thank you.
Approval of the Bush and the garbage truck. That's over about $250,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Is that going to interfere with 17th Street?
In my earnest opinion, I did not devise this budget, and this budget was included these items before we ever contracted for the 17th Street ditch, but I don't see any way that it would interfere at all. That's already been budgeted. It's already taken care of as far as how we're going to pay for it. Mr. Schubert, do you want to address that?
It won't affect it at all. If the question is, are these purchases going to affect the work that's planned on 17th Street?
Yeah.
No, sir, it won't affect it at all.
Another question, is Walmart still exempt from paying taxes?
Never has been.
What type of taxes are we talking?
City tax.
City ad valorem taxes?
Yeah. Just taxes. They understand
Well,
they
there's
don't
a
pay
sales
taxes.
tax, there's an ad valorem tax.
What now?
Are you talking about real estate taxes, ad valorem?
No, I'm saying Walmart, are they exempt from paying taxes for the city?
And I'm asking you what type of taxes?
Just regular taxes, city taxes.
They are not exempt from paying ad valorem taxes.
They are. They are. What are you saying?
They are not.
They're not.
To my knowledge, there was some sort of deal made with Walmart which would be extended for 10 years when they came to Lynn Haven. I don't have that in front of me to read to you, Mr. Connor, but I can definitely find it because it was something I researched.
I understand Friend, when everybody was running for the meeting, Friend said they were doing us a favor by putting Walmart there. But I can't see why they are not paying taxes. I just can't see it.
I do not have my research in front of me, but I will put it in front of me, and I will personally contact you. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment on that or not.
Yeah,
But
I can
they
certainly
were
follow.
given, it was some sort of release from Impact or something when they came
But
here.
it should be brought to the public why they are not, give a direct answer, because doing us a favor, I can't see that.
I'll do the research as well. I wasn't here, but certainly,
I was.
yeah.
I wasn't the mayor, but I was here.
Okay.
I'll be in touch, Mr. Connor. Is there anyone else that has a comment or question? Okay, at this time, we've already had a motion, so Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll for the consent agenda items 13 through 17?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. The motion has passed, so items 13 through 17 are approved. We move to old business. Number 18 would be the second and final reading of Ordinance 1006, Small Scale Plan Amendment SSA-15-4, James Finch and Associates, 1408 Georgia Avenue, Industrial to Commercial. Would you please read the ordinance, Mr. Schubert?
Ordinance number 1006, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida statutes, of a land use change from industrial to commercial for an approximate .344 acres of property located at 1408 Georgia Avenue in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept this item?
So moved.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? Discussion or questions from the public? Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Item number 19, the second and final reading of Ordinance 1007, Small Scale Plan Amendment SSA-15-5, James Finch and Associates, 1411 Alabama Avenue, Mixed Use to Commercial. Would you please read the ordinance, Mr. Schubert?
Ordinance number 1007, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes of a land use change from mixed use to commercial for an approximate .516 acres of property located at 1411 Alabama Avenue in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion from the board to accept item number 19?
Move approval.
Second.
And there is a second. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? Any discussion or questions from the public? Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 20 is approved. Moving to item number 21, the second and final reading of Ordinance 1009, Amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, Proportionate Fair Share Transportation Mitigation. Would you please read Ordinance 1009, Mr. Schubert?
Ordinance number 1009, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending the City of Lynn Haven's comprehensive plan by revising a portion of the capital improvement element and a portion of the concurrency management system as they pertain to proportionate fair share transportation mitigation, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept Ordinance 1009?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion from the board? Mr. Friend, did you have? I thought I heard.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any question or discussion from the public? And there is none. Would you please call the roll, Mr. Schubert?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And
Madam Mayor, Did we skip item 20?
I have it checked off.
I don't recall.
Did we?
Did I
missed
skip it?
20.
Thank you very much. I must have checked it. We've done a lot of public hearings tonight. Thank you for calling that to my attention. If I may return to item 20, thank you, Commissioner Shad. The second and final reading of Ordinance 1008, the Small Scale Plan Amendment, SSA-15-6, James Finch and Associates, parcel number 10213-025-000, contiguous to 1408 Georgia Avenue on the south. Is there a motion? Excuse me, would you please read the ordinance, and then we'll go for the motion. Thank you.
Ordinance number 1008, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163, Florida statutes, of a land use change from mixed-use industrial to commercial for an approximate .086 acres of property located south of 1408 Georgia Avenue in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept?
I move approval.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? Discussion or questions from the public? Would you please call the roll, Mr. Schubert?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, thank you, and that has passed. We did vote on 21. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 22. The second and final reading of Ordinance 1010, Amendment to ULDC Section 2.02.06, Section 4.02.01, Section 4.02.02, and Section 4.0.03. Would you please read the ordinance, Mr. Schubert?
Ordinance number 1010, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, creating Section 2.02.06 and amending Section 4.02.01, Section 4.02.02, and Section 4.06.03 of the City of Lynn Haven Unified Land Development Code, providing for a Florida Avenue corridor overlay, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept?
Move approval.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any question or discussion from the board? Questions or discussion from the public? And there is none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Moving to item 23, the second and final reading of Ordinance 1011, Amendment to ULDC Section 6.01.06. Would you please read the ordinance, Mr. Schubert?
Ordinance number 1011, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Section 6.01.06 of the Lynn Haven Unified Land Development Code as it relates to proportionate fair share transportation mitigation, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept?
So
move.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And there is a second. Are there any questions or discussions from the board? There are none. Questions or discussion from the public? There are none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Moving to our final item of the evening, number 24, which is public commentary. If anyone has any item or discussion, any item of discussion you would like to bring before the board, this will be that time. So you would just raise your hand and then come to the podium. Yes, ma'am.
Laura Johnson, 1115 Michigan Avenue. I missed the workshop yesterday, and one of the things that was brought up about the golf courts, the last time we talked about them in the commission meeting, happened to do with the liability of the city if there was a wreck. So I went home and I called my insurance agent and told them the situation that we were talking about golf carts in Lynn Haven. And he said, yes, they did insure golf carts on the road, and he gave me all the information as far as what was covered, which is bodily injury, passenger liability, property damage, uninsured motorist, medical payments, collision, and other than collision. And this amount of money was under $75 a year. So I think if you've got people that want to drive their golf carts hard enough, they will get the insurance, and then hopefully that will exempt Lynn Haven from having to worry about it.
Thank you. Great information. Thank you. Anyone? Yes, sir. I think you were next.
Hi, my name is Donald Lanier. I live at 1818 Virginia Avenue. First off, Mr. Schubert, thank you for your time that you've given me. But I want to let you understand exactly what's happened with my water bill. I moved to the city the 1st of July. First water bill I got used 2,300 gallons. Second water bill I got, I used 1,500 gallons. Third one I used 49,000 gallons. Impossible. So I turned to my landlord, Mr. Finch, and asked him, because I thought, to use that much water, a pipe had to burst somewhere on my side. Well, he's had his employees check it. Miraculously, everything's fine. I've checked it. I believe the city has checked it. And everything seems to be fine. It's miraculous that the water meter reads 49,000 gallons this month. A month later, it corrects itself. And some of the terminology I've heard is it's computerized. Well, I've been working with computers for 30 years. You're not going to tell me computers don't screw up. Also, the water meters are calibrated. Who calibrates them? Man calibrates them. Anything man does can have a problem. Then the comment was made, perhaps you left the water running. Well, at my age, I could have possibly forgotten, went to work and left it running. But I think when I got home, I would have turned it off. And I can assure you, to use 49,000 gallons, it would take a long time. It's 1,600 gallons a day for 30 days. Well, I know it didn't go into the walls, because if it did, the pipes go through the wall. If it did, the building would fall down. So what it's come down to is nobody knows what happened to the water. And if the city of Lynn Haven had to pay for it, I'm sorry. I did not use it. Nobody can tell me where it's at. If you paid for it, show me you paid for it. I talked to the owner of Pool Tech, and I asked him how big a pool would have to be to use 49,000 gallons of water. He says, humongous. He also said, I can't even put a pool in the ground to hold that much water. So I asked him about how long it would take to run 49,000 gallons through a faucet in your house. He said, unbelievable, long time. Lady works with me, has a swimming pool. She says, I empty my swimming pool, and I take a garden hose and I refill it. It takes me 2.5 to 3 days. In my understanding, the average swimming pool uses about 16,000 gallons of water. So there is something obviously wrong somewhere. And I would like relief. I don't mind paying $40, $50 like I have been, but I certainly don't want to pay no $254 for something I know I have not used. Anybody have any questions about it?
It's my understanding that you're going to meet with Mr. Schubert tomorrow.
Talk to him, and I appreciate talking to him. However, he's not in a position at this time to relieve the debt. That's why I came here. He has some suggestions, but...
Well, I'll look forward to hearing the result of your meeting.
Okay.
We have a policy in place, but Mr. Lanier's situation is different. There's been 2 situations like this in the year and a half I've been here. The other one was an obvious break in an irrigation line where it was a commercial business and it was a $1,200 bill, and fortunately a city employee saw it and was able to turn it off while this gentleman was out of town. But we've got policies in place. They don't always speak to how to handle individual, unique situations, and I'll be happy. I think we can resolve this tomorrow.
Well, I appreciate the previous people's problems, but this is my problem. And
Right.
I just do not feel I should be obligated to pay any more than my average of the 2 months that I've got previous bills. And I don't know how you go about resolving it. And the other thing I would like to say, when I call up the city water department about my bill, I'm new to the city, I don't know your policies. So I said, well, can you come out and reread it? Yeah, we can for $25. That's not solving a problem. That's just, you come out and say, hey, well, the meter is fine from the last reading, so I got to give you $25. That's my money. There's another issue I want to bring up about the water. Perhaps the attorney can tell us. When I paid a $150 deposit, I had no problem with that. Everywhere I've ever been, I paid a deposit. So I asked, how long will you keep my money? 4 years. I'd like to know why you're keeping my money for 4 years. If I pay my water bill every month on time and the amount that I owe, I would think after 1 year you should be able to make a decision, am I credible? And the other question is, if after 4 years, I have been places that they kept it longer, but they always paid interest, because that's my money. It's not your money. It's my money. So I'd like to answer on why you keep it for 4 years, what do you do with the money, and I'd also like to know, do you pay interest after 4 years? Okay?
I think those are all fair questions, and we'll try to resolve those for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
I just don't want my water turned off.
What was the last question? I missed it.
He wants to know why that $150 deposit
Right.
would have to be kept for 4 years versus 1 year if he pays on time every month.
But it was, where is it kept, and what was the last?
And does he get interest on it?
Okay.
Did I fairly?
Other thing two things I want to know. One is, why 4 years? What are you doing with my money? And if you do keep it for 4 years, do you pay me interest on that money? Everywhere else I've been, if you kept over a year, you had to pay interest. And I thought that was a law went to courts a few years ago, and the law said if you keep it more than 1 year, you had to pay interest.
So if you would not mind meeting with Mr. Schubert tomorrow, and then if it's not resolved, because I need to get to other people during the meeting. There's normally a 3-minute limit to speaking, but you've been on point, so if you've covered all your points,
okay.
And then just if this doesn't get resolved to your satisfaction, then please let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there someone else? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Miss Nancy, I was resolving here.
My name is Dane Messick. I live on 1400 West 12th Street. And I told myself probably 2 years ago that I wouldn't come up and bring this issue up. But things have gotten worse on the west side of Highway 77, and the issue I want to bring up, I've got 3 of them. And one of them is the old Sally Mae. The old Sally Mae building who was occupied by the Dynamics people, correct? I live on West 12th, and it's just like living on Highway 77. The traffic is so bad that we've got 2 4-way stop signs that are continuously being run through. Our kids are going to get run over, bicyclists are going to get run over, and we don't know what else to do. I've gone to the police department, I've discussed it with them. We'll get somebody out. Sure, they'll get somebody out, but they'll get somebody out during the day that all these people are at work. Sure, they'll patrol the neighborhoods, and then they'll leave. Do they put someone off to the side to catch the speeders and the violators that go through all these 4-way stop signs? No, they do not. I've even offered my driveway. Pull up in my driveway where you hid a little bit. If I was going to rob the bank here in Lynn Haven, would I call Lynn Haven Police Department? No, I would not. I don't know if that means anything to you. If Lynn Haven Police Department sits on West 12th Street in the open, these people are not going to violate anything. And I understand the show of force from the police department. A lot of times it works that way. But these people, every single day, they're going to run over somebody, they run through the stop signs, and I don't know what else to do except come to you guys. My last stop was the police department. I won't go back to them again. Yesterday was my last day. I won't do it again. Second issue is the parking. Is the parking around our area over on 12th, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. There's an ordinance here that I got from the police department yesterday, and it tells us how to park on the street of Lynn Haven. Lynn Haven Police Department, for some odd reason, won't enforce this ordinance. And it states it clearly on the ordinance in this paperwork saying how to park on these streets.
You can't park like you can at Pier Park. If you ever go to Pier Park, you got some cat parked on the left-hand side and some on the right-hand side. Paperwork says you have to park with the flow of traffic. In Lynn Haven, they don't do that. I get tired of going around people. If they park with the flow of traffic right now, that doesn't bother me. But if they'll cut across the street, park against the flow of traffic with a headlight shining in our face, and what do? We have to wait till they shut the headlights off. That's ridiculous. What good is the ordinance if you don't abide by them? I have to abide by it. I was told 4 or 5 years ago by the Lynn Haven Police Department, sir, you cannot park on that side of the street. You must park with the flow of traffic. And we've done it ever since. But all of a sudden, Lynn Haven Police Department's gotten lax on this. It's because they don't care. I pay taxes just like you guys do. And like I said, and I'll repeat myself one more time, I will not, after yesterday, go back to Lynn Haven Police Department. They've showed me nothing. Okay? I'm sorry to say that. They get paid to do a job, and I understand. But the letters on their vehicles say, serve and protect. Maybe that needs to be taken off, especially the serving part of it.
Mr. Messick, I'm not going to cut you off, but you're past the 3 minutes. If you had one other issue you wanted to bring up, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were on.
Well, and I'm not going to cut you off as long as you stay on point.
The other was the golf cart.
Okay. Go ahead.
The golf cart situation. When Mary Kelly was in office, we know that everything on this side of Highway 77 was a go, because there's 25, and there is 25, different sections on this side of town were able to use golf carts. Everything on the west side got discontinued. Well, that ordinance didn't hurt anybody because they still continued driving golf carts. There were no, I sold mine because the ordinance said we could not drive the golf carts on that side of town. I sold mine. But the golf carts still go on. There's no citations been written, and probably never will be. My thought about the golf carts, y'all fixing to open up a can of worms if you will allow golf carts in this Lynn Haven city limits, because there's too many outlets on my side of town. Golf carts should be on a golf course, not in the streets of Lynn Haven. You're going to get somebody killed with these things, especially over on West 12th Street, where I live. There's too much traffic, too many speeders. They don't constitute what a four-way stop sign is. Golf cart people are going to get run over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Scott Deal. I live on 1014 Colorado Avenue, and I'd kind of like to speak a little bit about the golf carts as well. I'd like the commissioner to be sure to look into the ordinance, and I don't feel that it'd be more intrusive than, say, a motorcycle or double riding on a bicycle or something like that in certain areas of town. I have grandchildren. We use a golf cart around when we can. I don't think there's going to be an influx. It might even be something you would try temporarily, say for 6 months to a year, and see what kind of statistics and what kind of problems arise out of this. And I don't really feel like it needs to be just dismissed arbitrarily. There's a lot of joy riding around Lynn Haven. Afternoon rides, whatever, enjoy the waters, that kind of stuff. And if you have grandkids, which I have 6 of them, we ride sometimes. And I'd like to, for it not to be dismissed, then, let's give it a go and see what happens with it. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Dan Johnson, 1115 Michigan. Back to what he was just talking about, golf carts.
Yes, sir.
All over Central and South Florida, they're used every day. My sister-in-law and her husband, they ride to the golf course everywhere, and so does a lot of other people. There is a lot of illegal vehicles on our roads that cops are not touching them. Semen mixers, supposed to have a license on them. They go in town everywhere with no license plate on the cement mixer. I see motorized bicycles out there. Cops never say a thing to them. even idiots riding their lawnmowers up and down the highway. What is the difference? Our speed limit is 25. My golf cart won't quite go that fast, but I'd still like to be able to use it. I see other golf carts, but I don't use mine because it's illegal. So I'd still like some consideration given to the idea of being a golf cart for the neighborhood. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Ms. Nancy, I think you were up a minute ago, and somebody walked up when you did. Sorry.
That's okay. Nancy Singleton, 402 Wisconsin. I would much prefer that Mr. Friend were here in person, but I will proceed. After reading the information given to me recently, I understand why you, Rodney, didn't show up at the debate before the election. In June 2012, you purchased a home on North Bay Drive in the county. The terms of that mortgage state that you, the borrower, must within 60 days move in and use the property as your principal residence for at least 1 year. The loan application states you, the borrower, will be in default if there are any material false representations made regarding Sutherland. Water prior to August of 2012 average was 4,460 gallons a month. After August 12th of 12, 800 gallons the next 30 months, 27 months without usage. The last 2 months, electrical average on Sutherland was 57.56. At North Bay, it was 339.62. There was no garbage pickup at Sutherland, no active Comcast. It was disconnected approximately 2.5 years ago. It's been active at North Bay. Telephone is at North Bay. One document address shows 731 Bay Drive in Lynn Haven. Lost tax to Lynn Haven due to the invalid homestead exemption. By the way, this is all my opinion, according to the papers. Lost tax to Lynn Haven due to invalid homestead exemption, 2013, $154.44. In 2014, $195. Regarding legal, the city should determine if Friends should reimburse the city for the legal expense to render an opinion regarding the residency issue by the City of Lynn Haven attorney. In my opinion, due to your misrepresentation, the legal services provided by the city and paid for by the city should be reimbursed by you. To me, even voting on the commission is questionable. This year, the total of your insurance this year was $35,333.28. We, the city, paid $21,232.44 of that. Again, in my opinion, the city should be reimbursed for that and previous years. From my information, most of you members have known this for a long time and from all appearances done nothing. So I intend to seek and inquire from an outside source.
Okay. Mr. Friend, did you have a response?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Friend has no response. And I would comment that I have been made aware of the information that you just read, and I have asked the city attorney for his opinion, and he did give me the opinion that Mr. Friend is a resident of Lynn Haven. So I don't know if I defer to you on that, or
Well, I mean, I can clarify a couple of things. First off, the request for a legal opinion was not from Mr. Friend. It was from Mayor Kelly, I believe, at the time in the commission. And that opinion went to the entire commission. That was several years ago when that opinion was issued. And my understanding is that Mr. Friend has sought an independent legal opinion sometime before the election. And that's my understanding, is that his opinion matched my opinion. But
The utility bills went to February 22nd. And besides that, operating as, again, I'm a lay person, but it seems to me that Mr. Friend has attorney-client privilege with you, since you gave an opinion.
no, the opinion was to the commission. As I said before, the opinion was to the commission, the city commission. The mayor asked me to deliver an opinion on that particular issue.
This mayor or the previous mayor?
No, the previous mayor, Mayor Kelly.
And I have also asked for an opinion, and I got the same opinion. And the other opinion that I was told is if anyone wanted to pursue that information, that individual would have to get an attorney and bring a suit. And so that's where there's nothing else that I can do. And Mr. Friend has said that he has nothing else to say about it. So I'm not dismissing you, but that's all I can say about it. Okay.
I realize that.
Thank you.
That's why I said I'd go to an outside source.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Leon Miller, 1508 Mississippi Avenue. I would just like to know who has the responsibility of putting a sign, a caution light on 26th Street and East Avenue at the crossing there. It's getting heavy there, right there on 26th Street.
And East?
And East Avenue. You know what I'm talking about?
Come back.
Okay, well, it's a used road now coming from Walmart, peoples, and it's getting to be a dangerous intersection there. It should be some kind of sign saying, slow down, a blinking light there.
We could bring that to Commissioner Nelson's attention. He's our county representative. I think that might be
I believe there is already underway a design PD&E, something. There's already been some design and money's being set aside for a major rework of that intersection because it is a very hazardous intersection. People trying to pull out there. There's been some accidents here recently.
And they just got.
I will double check tomorrow at the TPO meeting and get you an answer at the next meeting.
Okay, because they just built some more apartments down in that area.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I believe they're going to put a turn lane in there and widen that intersection. So I don't know if a light's involved or not.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a comment or a question this evening? Pardon me? Did I miss someone? No. I want to thank everyone for coming out for the first 6 p.m. meeting. Unfortunately, the next 2 6 p.m. meetings are the ones that are canceled in November and December, and the first meeting will be at 4 p.m. So the next 2 meetings, November and December, will be 4 p.m. and then in January we'll have that opportunity for an evening meeting again. Mr. DeFell said there's a great volleyball game going on over at Mosley High School that started at 7 o'clock. So thank you for coming, and the meeting is adjourned.